Okay, let's read some scary stories that were sent to us. But before we get into it, I had already recorded this damn video, and at the end of it, there was no sound. And during the video, like, I had the fireplace going on my TV, I had all the lights off. In the middle of the video, I heard like a weird, scary sound. So I got up and turned all the lights on, and I turned Rhett and Link on. We need some good vibes. These two stories are scary, okay? They're just scary, okay? Let's get through this. This story takes place when I was around 8 or 9 years old. My house is very old and very haunted. It used to be a funeral home, a restaurant, and a home for many people before my family ever lived here. One night I woke up to my cat sitting at the edge of my bed, meowing in a way that I've never heard him meow before. It was almost like a hiss mixed with a growl. I opened my eyes to see a tall man that looked like a shadow bending towards me, standing at the end of my bed. I was frozen from fear and started shaking. I put the covers over my head and held it there for maybe 2 minutes, and when I peeked my head out to see if he was still there, he was. The shadow figure stood standing still, watching me for what felt like an eternity until I just forced myself asleep. The next night, the same thing happened. This time I picked up my screeching cat and yelled for my mom. When my mom came in, the thing slowly disappeared or faded away. Then on the third night, it happened again. I was starting to wonder if this would happen every night and I'd have to just make peace with it. This time, when I woke up to my cat hissing at the figure, I started shaking. I then told it to leave. It didn't budge. So I got up and ran to my mom's room and jumped in her bed. My mom's room is right across the hallway from mine, so I can see my doorway from her bed, and the thing was still in my room and my cat was still hissing. My cat is not aggressive in any way and he's very shy, so I could tell that whatever that was not a good presence. My mom believes my story, but she also thinks that it was just sleep paralysis. That got me wondering if it was too, but if it was sleep paralysis, how did my cat see it too? Anyway, I want to know what other people think of this and if they have experienced something like this as well. Okay, so if you've experienced something like this, let us know in the comments. But if your animal thinks something is weird, then something is probably weird. When I was 12, I was living in Fort McMurray, Alberta. I was home alone one night and I was already pretty creeped out because I've heard and seen stuff before. It was around 10:45 at night when I got up from bed to go make some food. I was very scared to go downstairs. I lived in a 3-story house with a creepy-ass basement. Anyway, as I was going down the stairs, I thought I saw someone out of the corner of my eye. It looked like my little sister, but again, I was home alone for the weekend. I got freaked out but tried not to give it any attention. I got downstairs and my kitchen lights were on and my basement door was open, even though I had turned off all the lights and closed the door before I went upstairs hours beforehand. I was really scared but closed the basement door anyway. I walked into the kitchen and started cooking. About 45 minutes had passed when I heard something walking up my basement stairs. I thought my dad might have came home early from work. We had a door to the parking lot in the basement, so I didn't think anything of it. When the footsteps stopped at the top of the stairs, I was expecting my dad to walk in. When no one came through the door, about 10 minutes later, I called my dad and asked if he was home. He said no and that he was still an hour away at work. I freaked out and went running back up to my room and slammed my door, locking it. I could hear stuff in my living room moving around and thought someone might have broke in. I heard heavy boots walking up the stairs and go into the bathroom. Then they walked to my bedroom door and stopped. I was in my closet hiding. Then the closet door started shaking violently and I was quietly crying and trying to text my mom. About 20 minutes later, I came out of my closet and my room was completely trashed and there were big scratch marks on my door. I called my guy friends to come over and check out my house. They walked into my house and checked all the rooms. We found nothing or no one. We were all freaked the fuck out and sat on my couch downstairs. That's when we all heard someone upstairs walking around in all the rooms and the basement door flung open on its own. We freaked out some more and ran out my front door. I ended up staying with a friend that weekend until my parents were home. They came home to the place completely trashed and scratch marks up the walls. Safe to say, we moved out a couple weeks later. That one is obviously very scary, but like, was that paranormal or did somebody actually break in? And why is scary shit always happening in Canada, and Australia, and South Africa? That's the story I was reading, by the way, when I heard a creepy noise in my house and had to get up and turn all the lights on and turn on Rhett and Link. So I think I'm done reading scary stories for today.
So I came across this spooky story and I literally cannot explain what happened to this person. Maybe y'all can help. And he couldn't explain this either. He says that this happened in 1993. He was about 11 years old. He grew up in central Victoria, Australia, and every summer they would go up to North Wales to go visit his aunt. Again, they would go every summer, and it was about a 10-hour drive, so every time they would stop in the middle somewhere so that way Dad could rest. Well, in 1983, this one specific time, Mom came across this advertisement about this brand new resort-style hotel. Huge, beautiful, and she wanted to stay there, so she called, booked a reservation, and that was that. So on their way back home from their aunt's house, that is when they were going to stay at this resort. They brought out the map, they found the road, and it was about an hour and 15-minute drive of pure nothing. It was literally just desert. Kind of similar to this, but again, imagine driving an hour and 15 minutes of just this. So it was a long stretch road. Finally, they found the entrance, drove in for about 15 minutes, found a gate, they opened, then they closed it, and they drove a little bit further down, and they finally found this resort. So finally, they pull up to this resort hotel. Mom and Dad get off to check in, and a few minutes later, they come back to the car, and they are confused because they said that there's nobody there. James and his brother are confused. They're like, what do you mean there's nobody there? They get off, they go look around, and there's literally not a single person inside that hotel. They go check behind the reception area, nobody there. Adjacent to this hotel was a cafe restaurant type of deal, and there was tables there with food on the table, with drinks in these cups. They go to the kitchen area. That whole restaurant is empty as well. They go back to the resort. They start walking around, and it's kind of divided between left wing and right wing where all the rooms are. They go up and down both sides. The doors are open. Some of the rooms are clean. Some of the rooms have the carts where the maid service is going to turn on the rooms. There is fresh linen. There is fresh towels, but not one person is on that property. Mind you, there were vehicles that were parked in the parking lot. So Dad is concerned now. He's like, all right, we got to go. I don't feel safe. I have my family here. We got to go. On their way out, they see that there is a motorcycle out there with the keys in the ignition as well. So Dad is like, you know what? Let me call 911, the local police department. He does. And they say they're on their way. Could wait there if they'd like, or they can bounce. And Dad's like, we're bouncing. I have my kids here. I need to get out of here. This is too weird for me. What's crazy is that same day they go to this local cafe that's nearby there. They watch the news to see if maybe someone is going to talk about it, something. Nothing was ever said. Now that James is older, he has Googled, he has researched this specific resort. He is not able to find a trace of any type of anything that he's witnessed. He even tried to Google like the satellite view around that area. He found the cafe where they ate, but he was not able to find that road that led to this specific hotel. And he was not able to find the hotel at all. He doesn't know what happened. I don't know what happened. This is weird. What do you guys think? I listened to this story on the Radio Rental podcast. If you guys want to listen to spooky stories, I definitely recommend that one. It is really good. And if you guys have any spooky stories of your own, please send them via DM or email because I'd love to read them. And I will see you guys in the next spooky story. Bye.
Somebody submitted a spooky story saying that they encountered the devil in LA and they nearly sold their soul. I am back with another spooky story, and I don't know if you want to watch this one at night. We're going to call the person who submitted the story Angela. Angela says that she's sending this anonymously because she doesn't want anybody connecting the dots. Just know that she came to LA for music, left when she realized that the devil may not just be a biblical figure and that he lives right here on earth, specifically Los Angeles. Angela goes on to say that people joke about selling your soul for fame. No one talks about how ordinary the first step looks. For Angela, it started with an invite. A friend of a friend told her about a small industry gathering in the hills. Nothing crazy, just networking, good view, a few producers, and a few up-and-coming artists. She says when you're chasing opportunities, you say yes. So she went. She pulls up and the house was gorgeous. The energy felt Wrong. When she walks in, it seems like everybody was smiling. Their smiles looked forced. The way people were talking in the house is as though they're whispering. They're talking so low as if they didn't want to wake something up. Angela said the second she felt how she felt, she should have gone home. And then she says someone important, she's not gonna name who, recognized her from a clip she posted and called her voice rare. They got into this conversation, they're talking back and forth. Now this is someone that Angela admired. They get a drink, they're talking. Next thing Angela knows, she's being led downstairs to a private room. The person that she was talking to told her that there was a studio downstairs. He asked her if she wanted to check it out. She was like, sure. When they got downstairs, that's when everything changed. The room wasn't a studio. It was more like a lounge. She said there was red lamps, velvet seats, and one big mirror that covered the entire wall. 2 men and a woman was already inside of that room. They all looked like normal people. However, it seems like these people have been waiting for Angela. So they get in the room, they ask her to sit, and they ask Angela a few questions. First question was what she wanted from music. Angela said the usual: success, stability, impact, tours. Now, Angela said that the way that these people were listening is as though they've heard this exact story like 1,000 times before. After Angela gets done, the woman leans in and says, we can give you all of that, but nothing in this city belongs to you for free. Angela says whole time she's laughing because she thinks the lady is being metaphorical. Spoiler alert, she wasn't. She opens a small leather case, slides it across the table, and inside was a sheet of paper. Not a contract, not a deal memo, something else. Old. Too old. The writing itself wasn't even in English. The paper itself had a weird smell radiating off of it. It smelled of incense and ash. She looks at the paper and told them that she didn't understand it. And now one of the men smiles and says, you don't have to understand. You just have to sign and the city will take care of the rest. Angela, at first she froze. Then she gets annoyed. Thought this was some weird hazing ritual. She said she wasn't signing anything without reading it first. And y'all, the woman tilted her head and said, you already read it. You read it the moment you walked in this room. It's been waiting for you since you got off the plane. Angela gets distracted because she could have sworn she saw something flicker in the mirror. When she looks up, it wasn't a glitch. She caught a reflection that wasn't in the room. She saw from the mirror that it was a very tall figure standing way too close, watching her. When she looks around her, she sees nothing. At that point, Angela stood up immediately. Temperature drops like it's suddenly freezing cold in this room. Her throat starts to tighten up as if someone was choking her. Man says, if you walk away, you will never know success. Because we're giving you the success right here. Angela says she pushes them back and ran up the stairs. The party upstairs was still happening like normal, like nothing just happened downstairs. When she steps outside, the whole house went quiet behind her. She says she gets home and she says that night and forward, she had the worst nightmare of being trapped in hell. Her life started going downhill. You will never believe how this story ends. I honestly can't believe it. If you want to hear how Angela's story ends, this is already 4 minutes long, so leave a comment for part 2. Make sure you hit the plus button for more spooky content.
Let's read another scary story that was sent to us. This happened in Austria and my mom was 21. It was in 1992 when my mother worked as a nanny in a large castle. The family had 3 girls and a boy. Right from the first day, she noticed something unsettling. There were strange and unreadable prayers hanging on the walls throughout the castle. My mother said she couldn't decipher them. The children also appeared pale and unusually quiet for their age. Then, strange things began to happen. One day, my mother had a severe headache and asked her boss for headache medicine. Shortly after taking it, she felt dizzy and had to lie down. And later, she felt weak and disoriented. Everything in the castle seemed even scarier after that. She was often alone with the children in this enormous building. The mother of the family warned her to never enter the first floor where the chapel was. During a walk around the home, my mother wanted to open the door to where the chapel was. When she touched the handle, the door swung open by itself and slammed shut immediately. Startled, she ran back to the playroom with the children and did not try to go in there again. My mom's cousin started working in the castle shortly after my mom quit. She was 14. One day, she suddenly didn't return home. In Austria, at 14, you can decide where you live, so CPS or the police couldn't do anything. The castle family had manipulated her and kept her under their control. During this time, my mother also noticed that around her aunt's house, there were strange, evil symbols carved into the trees. So this person's mom and the aunt decided to do a ritual to try to get rid of like any evil. The ritual lasted 3 days, and apparently the house smelled really bad during those entire 3 days of the ritual. Like, it was coming from the attic and it smelled like something had died up there. And other weird things happened, like really loud noises coming from the attic. And after the ritual was complete, the cousin did return home. But till this day, the cousin doesn't really speak about what happened during her time working in the castle. And the owners of the castle moved because the dad was doing like illegal stuff. He was selling substances. And now the castle is owned by the village, but this person did send me a picture of the castle. And the castle is called Schloss Wassen. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but I'll spell it correctly for y'all. Anyway, here's the picture. And some of y'all might be thinking that the mom was not very smart for going and opening that door that the mother told her not to open. But let's be real, at 21, I would have opened that door too. Even now, at 32, I would open that door if someone told me not to open it. I would. But to me, because the children were like pale and quiet, and there was like a chapel and rituals and weird smells and evil carvings, to me, it sounds like vampires. That sounds like vampires to me. That's very much giving American Horror Story Hotel. I think it's vampires. What do y'all think?
Hello and welcome back to a series of holiday horror stories. This series is brought to you by Festive Family Drama. You know what I mean? Ugh. My boyfriend at the time, now husband, called out my mother for not getting me anything, and she just said she's picky. She doesn't like anything. Good for him for saying something. And fuck your mother. For the next Christmas, I decided to start fresh. I had told my mom what I wanted, and she told me what she wanted, and I was like, hey, this is a new start for us. It wasn't. We all saw that coming. I got my mom a brand new record player, and she got me a glass cup with the Christmas story on it, which was a running joke. While everyone opened their presents, I pretended to watch A Christmas Story on TV because I didn't want to feel like a loser. Can I square up with every single one of your family members? I don't like them. It felt like the cup was a slap to the face. It was. The next year, I didn't bother to tell her anything because I wasn't going to get it. I bought her a diamond necklace and she got me fudge. Why were you still buying her things? Especially a diamond fucking necklace? Oh my God. I'm 34 now and I don't think I've ever got a real present from my mom. Last year, I got a sweater that was meant for my sister. And I loved that sweater until I was told my name was on it by mistake. Oh my God. This year, I'm 11 months into no contact with my family due to my brother going on a Facebook rant about me. That's why you went no contact? It should have been a long time ago for plenty of other reasons. Saying no one ever likes me and I was a mistake and that's why I can't have children. No, because I didn't vote for the orange man like you did. Everything makes sense now. Fuck all of them. Fuck every single one of them. You are so much better off without them. This is the first Christmas I'm really excited about. My husband and I are making a list of 5 things that we want and just doing Christmas ourselves. That's a good idea. That's a far better idea. I don't like any of those people, but then you explained like what he did and why he said that, and it really just all came together as to why they're such fucking terrible people. So, like I said, you're far better off, but y'all can let me know what you think in the comments or add your own 2 cents. If you have a holiday horror story that you want to share, you can do so on the link tree in my profile. I will see y'all at the next episode.
Can we show them the older home set?
Okay, yeah, let's go. As you know.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Was that you?
Yeah, that's on either side.
They went to both.
Yeah.
Tonight's true scary story is about a mimic mimicking. It is terrifying. I've never heard a story like this. It also takes the life of an animal, I think. Tonight's submitter's name is Erica, and this started in May of 2021. She was a sophomore in high school, which would make her about 16 at the time. So it was about 6 to 7 p.m. The sun had already set, but you could still see outside. It was still light enough to see. She calls this the blue hour because the sun is set, but the sun is positioned low enough to create a twilight. She always emphasizes this when telling the story because it's very important. She lives in West Tennessee. You have to take several back roads to get to her house.
house. She only has 2 neighbors. She lives in what most people will call the middle of nowhere, nothing but fields surrounding her neighbors and her. She starts to hear one of her dogs barking. His name is Xander, but it wasn't like a typical bark like at a squirrel or a bunny. It sounded more aggressive than that, so she knew something was wrong. Xander was only 5 years old. He was an Australian Shepherd, but he was a pretty big dog. She was 5'8", and he came up to about her knees. Xander was mostly black. This is important to the story. When she opened the door, she noticed that he was barking at the fence. Her fence was connected to her neighbor's fence. Her fence runs left and right, and her neighbor's fence runs up and down. Xander was barking positioned towards her neighbor's yard through the fence. After calling for him and yelling his name, Xander wasn't moving from his spot, and Xander was a very obedient dog, so this was very odd for him, and this worried her. She walks off the porch across the yard to him, and she stands behind him, and then his barking turns from a bark into a growl, like a full-on growl. Something was definitely bothering him, and he was trying to let her know it. So she looks up in the neighbor's yard, and she sees this black figure. The first thing she notices is how tall this thing is. It's incredibly tall. Remember that she's 5'8", and this thing was much taller than her. If she had to guess, it would be around like 7 feet tall, maybe even taller than that. The second thing she notices is this thing is featureless. It has no eyes, nose, mouth, nothing. She cannot see its face, and it also does not have any clothes that she can see. She knows immediately that this thing is not a person or human. She would have been able to make out something, anything. It was light enough to do so. This thing was staring at her, and although she couldn't see its eyes, she knew that it was staring at her, and she also knew that she could not turn her back to this thing. So she grabs her dog's collar and she slowly starts backing away. This part is crazy because this thing started mirroring her movements. As soon as she started to back away, so did the being, mirroring her, mocking her. She backed up to the porch somehow successfully, as this thing was just mirroring her and mocking her still. She let go of Xander's collar and damn near pushed him up the stairs of the porch. Then she turns around and she runs up the stairs herself. When she turned back to look to see what this thing was doing, the thing backed up behind a tree, never to be seen again. She hasn't seen the thing since, and she won't dare look into her neighbor's yard when it's dark out anymore. She texted her stepdad to let him know what happened, and he proceeded to text a neighbor to ask them if they knew if anybody that they knew was outside. The neighbor immediately texts back and says that everybody's in bed and ultimately decides to call the cops. Then when the cops come, they find absolutely nothing. No trace of footsteps, belongings, nothing. There is no trace of anyone being there at all. And the worst part of the story? After this, the dog passes away from unknown causes, and this freaks the hell out of her because she doesn't understand why her dog passed away. She said that she hopes that somebody in the comments can let her know maybe what happened and maybe why her dog passed away from this and what this thing was. So, do you guys think that her dog passed away because of this entity? And what do you think this entity was? Was this a mimic? It had no face. I know that's one thing that mimics don't have is faces. So I'm just wondering, but it didn't like mimic anyone else except for her. It literally mimicked her, which was super creepy. Also, has anything like this ever happened to anybody else? Have you ever had anything literally mimic you exactly? This story was so weird to me. So just drop your comments or any suggestions or any help that you have in the comments, anything you could possibly think of, because this is so sad. I think the worst part is that her dog passed away. I hate that part so much. Ugh, makes me so sad. But now on a more positive note, we're gonna do the shout outs. My first shout out is going to Miss Heather Fox. Girl, you are the best. In my last video, you were letting everybody know where my longer story was, and that seriously made me love you so much. Like that, honestly, thank you. You didn't have to do that, and you did. For everyone who asked, and you have no idea how much that means to me. That meant the absolute world to me, girl. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for commenting, and thank you for promoting my content. Next shout out is going to Tori. Your name is just Tori. Torrie. I have to start tagging you guys. I have to start, like, when I see your comments, I have to start like taking pictures of your tag because I can never refine the comment. But girl, thank you so much. You said that I was your favorite storyteller on the whole internet. That means the world to me. You have no idea. That made my whole entire day. Thank you so much for saying that. Thank you for supporting me, commenting, just being you, girl. Thank you. I love you. Okay, I am about to show you guys one of my favorite outfits. This is why I put it at the end. You don't have to stay for it, but you should because oh my God. Ladies, you cannot even tell me that this is not the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. It's actually a 2-piece set, although you can't tell. It comes in this beautiful red color that I wish I got. You have to check out the other colors. It's the epitome of a sundress. It is true to size. This is a skirt right here, okay? If you have bigger girls, I'm a 34D and it fits me. If you have like a triple D or a double D, I would size up, okay? Otherwise, it's true to size. But absolutely gorgeous. Check out all the colors. It is beautiful. I feel like a princess in it. But other than that, my name is Kaisa and I tell true scary stories every single night that you guys submit to me. So if you're into that, hit that follow button. I just need you to do 3 things for me. And what are those? Keep sending me your scary stories, stay safe, and what's the last one? Say it with me. Have a spooky night. Love you guys. See you in the next one.
I need to tell you guys this ghost story. A little ghost girl. I already hate it. So the user starts off by saying that they're really into the paranormal and that pretty early on in their life, they discovered that they were an empath and they're really sensitive to mood shifts in a room or sensing that there's a presence there, even if you can't see it with your eyes. At the time that all of this happened, the user was actually living with their brother, their sister-in-law, and their nephew. But they weren't unfamiliar with the home. They had actually lived with them for a few years when the user was a teenager. And at the time that they were living there while they were a teen is when they discovered that they were an empath. And all of this interest and love for the paranormal actually started. So late one night, after the user's brother and sister-in-law had put their nephew to bed, they found themselves around the dining room table talking. And the topic of the home's history had come up. And the things that the brother and sister-in-law were experiencing in the home. I mean, they went as far as to make a list of all of the different ghosts that they had experienced within their walls. The user even made it a point to note out that their brother really doesn't scare easily, and that for the most part, most of the ghosts that were in the home weren't threatening at all, but some of them really made the hair on the back of his neck stand up. So the night gets late and all of them realize it's probably best if we get to bed. They all go to their respective bedrooms. At this point, the user's so tired that they kind of just forget the entire conversation that they just had and they're just ready for bed. That's when they hear it. A tiny little voice calling out for their mommy. Naturally, the user gets up and starts to make their way across the home to collect their nephew, whom they assume is the one that's woken up and is calling out for their mom. But when the user gets to the nephew's bedroom, they realize that he's sound asleep and that they can still hear the little voice calling out for their mommy coming from downstairs, and it sounds like a little girl. The user is frozen. They don't know what to do, but they know that there's no way that a little girl can be in the home. So they confirm that their nephew is okay, and they start briskly making their way back to their bedroom. They can still hear the little girl crying out. She's distressed, and it's starting to make the user emotional, and as she's making her way back to her bedroom across the house, she can hear the crying through the vents, almost as if the voice is following her. Of course, the user doesn't sleep that night. I mean, truthfully, how could you? And at 5 a.m., when they hear their brother get up, they ambush them in the hallway and tell him everything that happened that night. But the brother goes on to say, yeah, we've seen her. Oftentimes, the little girl will show up to them when they're in the basement doing chores or in the living room having family time. The brother goes on to say that the little girl seems to be about 3 years old, and she has a long sheet of black hair. And when they see her, in the split second that it takes for their mind to register what they're actually looking at, she'll actually speak to them. Mommy? Play? But as soon as they register what's actually going on in front of their eyes, she disappears. At this point, the brother's wife has woken up and has come out into the hallway to join their conversation. And she goes on to add that their son has actually been experiencing this little ghost girl ever since they brought him home from the hospital. At this point, the little boy is 6 years old, and the sister-in-law is saying that there's been several times that she's heard him across the house yelling stop in the middle of the night while he's sleeping. Sometimes he'll wake up and he's crying out for her, and she'll find pinch marks and even bite marks on his skin. The user honestly cannot believe the conversation that they're having, but they just have to get on with their day. So they go back to their bedroom and they get ready for a day of work. They leave the house, they go to work for the day, and when they get back, their nephew's awake. In an attempt to try to figure out what exactly happened last night, the user asks their nephew, "Hey, did you wake up last night? Were you calling out for your mom?" Well, the user's nephew looks at them and shrugs, and they say, "No, it was probably just the little girl." Absolutely not. Little ghost children, just the thought of a little ghost child really, really freaks me out. I think in my soul that ghost children know that they're creepy and they just like play up on it and they think it's fun. They want to like have fun and play pranks and see you all freaked out. A ghost child is where I draw the actual line.
Let's talk about something scary. If you're new here, hi. I usually talk about some pretty scary stuff, and today I'm going to be talking about one of my best friend's experiences because I don't know how I forgot it. It's absolutely bone-chilling, and it really makes you think about how many places in the world are actually haunted. So let's get started. I had this friend in high school, we'll call him Jay, who was an avid ghost hunter. He believed in the paranormal, he believed in the afterlife, he believed in it all. And we really started being friends after the whole Ouija board experience. And one night he was blowing my phone up. So much so that I actually woke up from my sleep and saw that I had about 30 messages. And what I proceeded to open on my phone was absolutely horrifying. So there's a road about 2 hours out of my hometown called Seven Sisters Road, and it's supposedly very haunted. So the legend goes that 7 women were murdered in the early 1900s on that road, and their spirits never left. And supposedly, if you drive on this road at a specific time of night, your car will malfunction. And some of the more common things that a lot of people say that they see are lights, apparitions, their car shuts off, their car dies, their radio goes out, they hear screaming, they hear whispering. And it's important to note that this is a gravel road in the middle of nowhere. So my friend sends me this video of him driving, hand on the wheel, hand in the phone, talking to the screen, whatever. And he comes to a complete stop because you're supposed to stop and park your car. Immediately his radio goes out as he parks. He starts messing with the buttons, and I'm seeing this all happen via video. Right after the radio comes on, his car dies. And I mean, dies. Headlights shut off, the whole shebang. So now he's sitting in complete darkness in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the night. And it gets worse. He starts to hear the gravel start to move. And he says that he could feel the car moving. Not forward or backward, but just kind of like shaking. After that stops though, he tries to turn his car on. The car turns on. Headlights are on. He gets out of the car. He's recording the whole time. He gets out. He shows his car and he starts to notice something. There are footprints all over his car. And just as a reminder, this is a gravel road, so all the dust settled. So these footprints are fresh. And they walked from the front of his car on the hood all the way up his windshield onto the sunroof, all the way back down, and just stop. So obviously he's freaked out. He takes his finger and swipes it through just to show people that they're not old footprints on his car, they're new, and it matches completely to the dust coming off. So he essentially is like, absolutely not, gets in his car, reverses, and drives all the way home. But he insists that it is one of the scariest moments that he's ever experienced to this day. That's going to do it for me. Stay tuned for more ghost stories.
This is the most haunting experience that she has ever had. Creepy story time. So this woman, Cecilia, is sharing her story, and she said that she doesn't mind being tagged below. She says she's had a lot of creepy experiences in her life, but this one chills her to the bone. This happened when she was 34 years old. She's 35 now. So she has 2 hound dogs, and her husband make a really loud kissy sound when they're trying to call them. That's relevant to the story. So Cecilia is just sitting in her recliner listening to some music with her headphones in. All of a sudden, she decided to just press pause for a minute. So at this point, it's silent. Nothing is playing through the headphones. And then all of a sudden, right up in her ear, as though it was coming through her headphones, was this extremely loud mwah kiss sound, sounding exactly like how it does when her husband makes the sound. She said she fully expected to see him when she turned to look, but nobody was there. Well, at least her husband wasn't. As she is looking around to hopefully see her husband, she is starting to have the worst panic attack she has ever had in her life. She knew something was in her house and she knew it wasn't good. So she called her husband while he was at work. So she's on the phone with him and he goes, "Did you just make a kissy sound in the phone?" No, she did not. No. So she said she grabs her rosary for protection, puts it on, and heads to the back door. She said she has her arms spread out wide like Jesus on the cross, and she is yelling, "I have God, you have nothing. I have God backing me up, and the Son and the Holy Spirit." Basically telling this thing to go back to hell where it belonged. Once those words came out of her mouth, she could hear from the back of the property the lowest, most demonic growl she has ever heard in her life. So now she can't go out there. She goes back into the house. She closed the door. She calmed herself down. She said a prayer, and eventually she was able to get to sleep. I mean, I don't know how. I would not have, but good on ya. But she was not prepared for what she was about to wake up to. She said she looked out her back door and gasped. There were 3 long slash marks in her tree that were at least 4 inches deep. Whatever the heck that thing was not happy. She says it's almost 2 years later and those marks are still there, fading. So leave your thoughts in the comments, and if you have any questions, drop them there. She might be able to answer them for you. She'll be keeping an eye. And as always, don't forget to follow for more creepy story time.
What the fuck was that? Bro!
What's going on around you?
I don't know. I'm frozen. I am frozen. Did the window break?
So one of my friends sent me this story that she came across online, and I had to share it with you. It is so creepy and gross. Ugh. Anyway, so this girl who is in her 30s shares her experience that she had with her hairstylist. Her hairstylist is in her 40s, and she's been going to her for about 9 months now. This is her 6th time seeing this stylist within that 9-month period. She says she usually goes in for a trim or a little bit of a style, but today she is going from long to an A-line bob. Since this cut is going to be such a dramatic length difference, the hairstylist took a before photo, intending to also take an after photo and then upload both on social media. So far, totally normal. Once the cut is finished, the stylist grabs the broom and sweeps her hair in the dustpan and sets the dustpan on the table for just a second. Then she grabs the dustpan and broom and proceeds to go to the back of the shop. She's gone for a few minutes, no big deal, and then she goes outside to smoke. And now this is where it gets weird. She had to go to the bathroom, and the bathroom is also in the back of the shop, so she decided while her stylist is out smoking a cigarette, she's gonna go ahead and use the restroom. She didn't see anything on the way to the bathroom, but on her way back, she peeks into the small side room, and she notices something. There is a clear plastic tote full of hair sitting on the table with no lid, and this girl's name is on it. She said, "That was my hair in that tote." And then she takes a closer look and she notices that inside this tote isn't just today's hair. It looks like multiple trim sessions of her hair collected into this tote. Also inside of this tote was what looked like sand and bits and pieces of potpourri. She also found pictures of her previously cut hair mixed in with this physical hair. And then she looks over and there's the printer, and in the tray were today's photos of the cut hair that were removed from her, ready to go in the bin. Fully creeped out, she's looking around and she doesn't see any other containers like this anywhere else. So she takes out her phone and she takes pictures of the scene. And then, not knowing what else to do, she kind of just goes back out into the salon. So she sits back down in the seat, and when the stylist comes in, she mentions how she had gone to the bathroom. Doesn't this stylist start sweating bullets? You could tell that she was like internally freaking out, but she didn't say anything. She said she didn't really know what to say or do, and as a socially anxious introvert, this was her nightmare. So she just sat there, let the stylist finish, she paid, and she left. So she goes home and she's just stewing on this. And the longer she's thinking about it, the more creeped out and grossed out she got. So she decided she's going to text this lady. So she sends her a picture of the crime scene that she took earlier and asked for an explanation and said that she would appreciate it if she removed the box from her possession. I'm going to read you word for word what she wrote. "Hey, so I saw this and I didn't know what to make of it. Can you help me understand what this is and why you have it? I'm not comfortable with you having this. Could you please discard the contents? Even though I love the cut, I think it's best if I find a new stylist." She says, they never responded. What in the witchcraft is going on here? Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments. This has got to be something like that, right? So freaking gross and creepy. And if you have a creepy story of your own, don't forget to submit it to the email in my bio.
Going alone to a place you don't know gotta be one of the worst things that you can do. And if you're like, bro, what if I want to enjoy life and discover things? Oh, that's wholesome and beautiful, but you're gonna change your mind after listening to this story. It all started one day in October when a young woman wanted to spend a week in a remote cabin in the middle of the forest. A remote cabin is basically one of those big-ass wooden houses in the middle of the forest, okay? And the woman wanted to spend a week here because she was tired of the city. She wanted to reflect, live in nature, all that stuff. So she found one for a reasonable price, and then she decided to talk with the owner. She was like, bro, I need to rent this thing starting from next week. So the owner responded, okay, that's possible, but why not now? Bro, check your fucking schedule. There's already people there who have rent this thing for a week. That's why I'm coming after them, a week later. Oh, about that, unfortunately, they decided to cancel the whole thing in the last minute. So if you want to, you can go right now. Okay, that's weird. But you know what? Hell yeah, it's even better. So give me the keys. Unfortunately, that wouldn't be impossible. You will have to wait until the afternoon because we have to clean. Bro, you just told me that nobody's been there. Clean what? We have to clean, don't worry, it's like a professional stuff, don't worry about it. You will get your keys, don't worry. Just wait in a place that's not very far from here, and then you will get your keys. I guess, okay. So the afternoon came, the woman got her keys, and by the time she organized everything, it was already dark outside. So she decided to chill, sit on her bed, and practice her favorite hobby, which was writing. While admiring the view, she was basically writing something like, "Dear nature, from the day I left the city, so many bamboozling, extravagant feelings have been tingling my..." You see, while she was writing, she heard a knocking on a window that's on the other side of the house. So she got up and decided to check what was that. And on her way to that window, boom, every light stopped working. Every single one of them went down. This is where she started to panic but tried to reassure herself. She was like, okay, that tapping, the knocking on the window, it's probably some branch. I mean, think about it. We're in nature, we're surrounded by trees, so that's some branch, okay? When it comes to electricity, something went down, something is wrong, but I will find a way to fix it. So she forgot about that window for a second and she started looking for a solution. You know, how to get the lights back on. That was her main goal. And while doing that, she heard the knocking again. This is where the woman understood that this is not a coincidence or nature or whatever. Somebody is clearly messing with the house from the outside.